The morning light poured through the lace curtains, dusting the vanity in a soft golden glow. I sat there, as I did every morning, brushing a light layer of powder across my cheeks. It was a ritual more than vanity, a quiet moment to remind myself that I still cared, that I was still me beneath the years and the wrinkles. My reflection stared back, gentle but tired. I was adjusting my lipstick when Clara's voice cut through the air, smooth and sharp. "Makeup doesn't work miracles anymore," she said from the doorway, her tone casual but her smirk deliberate. She leaned against the frame, cradling her mug of coffee, the faint scent of her expensive perfume mixing with the bitterness of her words. I froze. The blush brush hung midair, my smile caught somewhere between surprise and hurt. I met her gaze in the mirror. She was young, flawless, her hair shining as if even the light adored her. She gave a little laugh, the kind that made you wonder if she meant it or if it was just to cover the cruelty, and walked away, humming softly to herself. For a few seconds, the silence in the room was heavy, almost suffocating. The clock ticked, the powder brush slipped from my hand and rolled onto the vanity with a soft clatter. I stared at my reflection, the lines around my eyes, the slight sag in my jaw, the years etched into my skin like rings in a tree trunk. I tried to smile again, but it looked forced, foreign. When she married my son, I thought we'd find friendship. Instead, it seemed I'd become a reflection she didn't want to see, a reminder of times she thought she'd never face. That night, when I wiped away my makeup, I paused for a long moment, watching the color fade from my cheeks, the shimmer leave my eyes. I told myself her words didn't matter, that they were just words. But as I turned off the light and my face disappeared into darkness, I felt something inside me quietly crack. Dinner that evening felt unusually long, though the food was simple: roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and a salad I'd made the way my son liked it. The aroma filled the kitchen, wrapping the air in warmth, but the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Clara sat across from me, perfectly poised, her nails tapping against her wine glass in a slow rhythm that set my nerves on edge. My son, Daniel, kept glancing between us, trying to bridge the silent distance that had been growing for months. Halfway through the meal, Clara let out a small laugh and picked up her phone. "Look at this," she said, turning the screen toward Daniel. "Can you believe she's 55? She looks amazing. Some women just know when to age gracefully." She paused deliberately, her eyes flicking to me with that same faint smile. "Of course, not everyone does. Sometimes, you just have to accept that makeup can't hide everything." Daniel's fork froze midair. His face tightened with discomfort, but he didn't say a word. He just forced a smile, murmuring something about how filters made everyone look different. I felt the heat rise to my face, not from anger, but from the sting of humiliation. I could feel my pulse in my throat. My appetite disappeared completely. I swallowed hard, picked up my glass of water, and tried to keep my voice steady. "Clara, dear, you're right. Some things makeup can't fix, like manners." My words came out softer than I'd intended, not biting, but trembling with restrained pain. She blinked, caught off guard, then shrugged lightly, returning to her phone. "Just saying," she murmured, as though the insult hadn't already done its work. The rest of dinner was filled with the sound of clinking cutlery and silence, thick, uncomfortable silence. When I stood to clear the table, Daniel offered to help, but I waved him off gently. "It's fine, darling," I said with a small smile, though my voice wavered. I carried the plates to the sink, turning on the tap just to drown out the echo of her laughter from the other room. Later, alone in my bedroom, I pulled open the drawer of my vanity and took out a small wooden box, old, worn, and full of memories. Inside were photos. My wedding day, Daniel's childhood, the version of me that smiled easily, with bright eyes and hope. My fingers brushed over a picture of me holding Daniel as a baby. My hair was wild, my face bare, but there was light in it, a light I hadn't seen in years. Clara's voice from earlier rang in my ears like a taunt. I looked into the mirror, meeting my own tired gaze. "I haven't let go," I whispered to the woman in the reflection. "I've just changed." Outside, I heard Clara laughing again, bright and hollow. I turned off the light, lay down, and stared at the ceiling until the laughter faded into silence. The next morning, the house was still wrapped in that early hush before life began to stir. The air smelled faintly of coffee and rain, it must have showered sometime before dawn. I stood by the window for a long while, watching droplets trail down the glass, feeling a strange calm settle over me. Something inside had shifted during the night. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was resolve, but I was tired of shrinking every time Clara's words cut me. I took a deep breath and walked to the vanity, not to paint my face, but to really see it. The fine lines, the soft folds, the faint freckles that had never quite faded, they all told a story. Mine. I brushed my hair back and pinned it neatly, a style I hadn't worn in years. Then I opened my wardrobe and ran my fingers through the hangers until I found a soft blue dress, cotton, with small embroidered flowers along the sleeves. Clara had once called it old-fashioned. But today, that was exactly what I wanted. Something real, something that was me. As I got dressed, I caught my reflection again. The woman in the mirror looked different. Not younger, not flawless, but steady. Alive. I heard footsteps in the hallway. Daniel peeked in, rubbing his eyes. "Mom, you're up early," he said, surprised. "I have somewhere to be," I replied, smiling softly. "Marianne's art exhibition. Remember her?" His eyes lit up. "Of course, Dad's old friend. You haven't seen her in years." I nodded, feeling a small spark of excitement. Marianne had always been the kind of woman who didn't apologize for her age. She used to paint portraits that glowed with life, and once, she told me, "You age beautifully when you live passionately." I hadn't understood it then. But now, I did. As I drove into town, the roads glistened from the rain, the world fresh and awake. I rolled down the window slightly, letting the cool breeze brush against my face. I couldn't remember the last time I'd gone anywhere just for me. The city opened up before me, the hum of traffic, the chatter of strangers, the distant notes of a street musician. Everything felt brighter, as if I was finally stepping back into a world I'd quietly left behind. At the gallery, the air buzzed with laughter and low conversation. People moved from one painting to the next, sipping wine, admiring the art. And there, near the center, was Marianne, vibrant as ever, her gray curls like silver threads of wisdom. She turned, spotted me, and her face broke into a wide smile. "Eleanor," she exclaimed, rushing over to hug me. "You look radiant." I laughed softly, a real laugh this time. "You mean old," I teased. "No," she said, holding me by the shoulders. "I mean real." Her words warmed me more than she could have known. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel invisible or lesser. I felt whole, and as we walked together through her gallery, surrounded by colors, faces, and stories of people unafraid of time, I realized I hadn't come here just to support an old friend. I'd come to find a piece of myself I thought I'd lost. When I returned home that evening, the sky had already turned the color of ash and lavender. The rain had stopped, leaving the pavement slick and glistening under the dim porch light. I stood at the front door for a moment, clutching the painting Marianne insisted I take, wrapped carefully in brown paper, tied with string. My heart was light, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel the weight of age pressing on my shoulders. Inside, the house was quiet except for the murmur of the television. Clara and Daniel were in the living room, she lounging on the couch, he flipping through a magazine. Clara's head turned as soon as she heard the door open. Her eyes swept over me, lingering. I could almost feel her confusion. I was still wearing the soft blue dress, my hair pinned up neatly, a faint touch of pink gloss on my lips. There was no heavy makeup, no attempt to hide the lines or soften the ears. Just me, but the way Daniel's eyes widened told me I looked different. "Alive, Mom," he said, standing up with surprise. "You look, wow, did you go somewhere special?" I smiled and stepped further inside, setting down the painting against the wall. "I went to Marianne's art exhibition," I said. "She had the most beautiful portraits. She insisted I bring one home." Clara's smile was tight, her voice sweet and laced with curiosity. "Oh, let's see then. What did she paint?" I hesitated just a second before untying the string. The paper fell away slowly, revealing the portrait, my portrait. The room seemed to still. The painting captured me not as I was in my youth, nor as I appeared in that moment, but as something beyond both. My face was lined, yes, but my eyes were full of warmth and pride. There was a quiet strength in my expression, a radiance that seemed to spill from the canvas itself. Marianne had titled it in neat gold letters at the bottom, "Timeless." Daniel's mouth fell open. "She painted you." His voice was hushed, almost reverent. Clara, however, went pale. Her eyes darted from the portrait to me, and for the first time, she didn't have that confident smirk or sly amusement. She looked small, unsure. The color drained from her face as though the realization was hitting her hard, that beauty wasn't something you painted on, it was something you carried. "I didn't know she was going to hang it in the front hall," I said softly, brushing a bit of dust from the frame. "She said it belonged somewhere people could see it." Clara didn't respond. She just stared, silent, her jaw tight, as Daniel helped me place the portrait on the wall above the console table. The light from the lamp caught the surface of the painting, making it almost glow. For a long moment, no one spoke. The air was thick, but not uncomfortable, just full of realization. Clara's gaze lingered on the portrait, her expression flickering between disbelief and something almost like regret. I turned toward her with a calm smile. Sometimes, I said gently, the most beautiful things don't need miracles, they just need honesty. She blinked, her lips parting slightly as if to respond, but nothing came out. Her silence said enough, and as I stepped back, looking at the painting, at the woman I had rediscovered, I realized that for the first time in a long time, I didn't see age. I saw freedom. The next morning, the house felt unusually quiet. The kind of quiet that follows a storm, not from weather, but from words left unspoken. The soft light of dawn spilled across the kitchen as I prepared breakfast, humming to myself. Feeling lighter than I had in years. For once, I didn't dread hearing Clara's footsteps. When she finally appeared, I almost didn't recognize her. She wasn't wearing her usual layers of flawless foundation or the heavy lipstick that always seemed to declare war on imperfection. Her face was bare, pale, almost fragile, and her eyes were softer somehow, uncertain in a way I had never seen before. "Morning," I greeted, setting a plate of toast and eggs on the table. "You're up early." She hesitated in the doorway, one hand brushing her hair back. "I couldn't sleep," she admitted quietly. Then, after a moment, she walked to the table and sat down. "I saw the painting again this morning." I smiled gently. "It's hard to miss, isn't it? The light hits it just right at sunrise." She nodded slowly, eyes flickering toward me. "It's beautiful," she said at last. "You look different in it. Not because of the way it's painted, but because of how you look. Peaceful, strong." She took a breath, as if the words weighed something heavy. "I think I've spent too much time trying to look perfect and forgetting what that even means." For the first time, I didn't hear pride or mockery in her tone, just honesty. Maybe even a hint of shame. I didn't rush to fill the silence. I simply poured her some tea and let her speak at her own pace. "I used to watch you," she continued softly. "How you'd get ready in the mornings, the way you'd sit at your vanity, careful, calm. I thought it was vanity. I thought you were holding on to something that was gone. But that painting," she stopped, her throat tightening. "It made me realize it wasn't vanity. It was love. You loved yourself enough not to disappear." Her words surprised me. My chest ached, but it wasn't pain, it was something gentler, almost like forgiveness. I reached across the table, resting my hand over hers. "We all try to hide what we're afraid of losing," I said quietly. "But sometimes, we just need to see ourselves the way others do, not through mirrors, or makeup, or time, but through truth." Clara looked up at me, her eyes glistening slightly. "You look beautiful, Mom," she whispered. And this time, I knew she meant it. A smile bloomed on my lips, not the polite one I wore for family dinners, but a real one, warm and steady. "Thank you, dear," I said softly. We ate together in silence after that, a comfortable kind of silence. Outside, the morning sun climbed higher, and light spilled into the hallway, landing directly on the portrait. The colors glowed, gold, rose, and soft ivory, and in that light, the woman in the painting didn't look old or young. She looked timeless, and for the first time, Clara didn't flinch at the sight. She just sat there, her hand resting near mine, her expression calm. Sometimes, the greatest miracle isn't what makeup can create, it's what truth can reveal.